computer. Okay. Good morning. Pardon me, everybody. My name is Kari Kwas. I'm with the Snohomish Conservation District. These are just the intro slides, so if you're still coming in, that's fine. Don't worry. We are going to record the presentation part of this class, so that way we can share it with other people. I am with today Michaela Legarski, and she's our environmental education coordinator. I'm the community what is my title? Community Engagement Project Manager. And we both work on the education outreach team at the district. And we wanted to teach people about drawing birds. So we're so excited you're here today to join us and then hopefully enter our art contest. So I'm Kari, and I just wanted to share that my favorite bird is a black-capped chickadee-dee-dee. Maybe it's a sound you've heard outside. I just think they're the cutest things ever. So questions today, we do have the chat, so feel free to put questions in the chat for Michaela or for me during the presentation. And like I said, we are recording parts of this class, mostly the presentation part, so we can have it for later. So if you see something related to drawing the birds that you like, you'll be able to go back and find that video too. We want to be very protective of kids. So parents, if it's okay if they're on screen, that's great. We'll take that as an all right. But we will do our best to balance and turn off the camera or turn off the recording when we're just having conversations with the kids. So there's that. And then just for people that are here today, if you don't know what a conservation district is, we are kind of like a special district, like the fire departments in a special district. But our job is to protect natural resources. The natural resources are water and soil and air and the animals that are around us. So we help people through education like this. We have a youth education program. We help adults too, so your parents can get involved. But we talk about your land, where you live, and try and make it better for us to live and breathe, and animals and everything else. And we do have our youth art contest. This is the 5th year we've done this. So this year we chose birds because we love birds. They're wonderful. They also really appreciate native plants. So this contest is in conjunction with our art contest, or with the annual plant sale. So always enjoy having the opportunity to tie them together, because native plants are so important, as are birds. And then so today I'd like to introduce Michaela Legarski. She is our environmental education coordinator, and she's going to be teaching this class and walking through, I think, 5 species of birds, but that doesn't mean these are the only birds you can draw. By all means, there's a whole resource library out there, or walk outside and take a look at something that you are interested in. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Michaela.
Hello, good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Perfect.
And everybody, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that? Great, thank you. We are going to be talking about some birds today and how to draw them. Before I get started though, can you give me a thumbs up? Have you ever drawn a bird? If you haven't, that's totally fine. Can you give me a thumbs up if you've ever seen a couple different types of birds? I'm going to show you some birds that some people know about, some people don't.
Please press it down.
And I'm going to give you some strategies of how to get the proportions correct with your birds. Because when I think about drawing birds, and when I've tried drawing birds, it's really making sure to get the proportion of their head to their body right. So I'm going to be walking through some strategies and some steps for that. I just wanted to remind you all, you can submit your drawings from today into our art contest. So that is a great opportunity if you'd like. Before I introduce this bird to you, can you hold up your paper? Do you have paper with you? Can you hold up your paper? Great. Do you have a drawing pencil or pen? Perfect, okay. So our very first bird that I'm going to be introducing you to is a pleated woodpecker. And they are very, very beautiful. And they have a really interesting call. So I want to let you listen to them really quickly. Can you hear this?
Michaela, I cannot hear the bird call, but you are unmuted, so it should work.
Let's try it this way. Did you hear that?
No. But I wonder if you can hear it when I do it. So I'm going to try and just see. So put your screen back up.
Hello?
Hello. Thanks for joining us. We are having a technical difficulty with getting a bird sound on the screen.
Unas aquí y otras allá.
Okay. Here, let me see if you can hear mine.
I wonder why it's not letting us. Oh, I heard that.
Okay, so it's coming through my machine. So I can play the bird sounds and you can talk. How about that?
Great. You want to play it one more time?
Yeah.
You can kind of hear that.
Okay.
So these birds are the largest woodpecker in North America. If you notice their head, very large, and this long beak, that indicates that they are a woodpecker. They really like eating insects. They are also big fans of a couple species that you can plant in your yard. So we have some black hawthorn that you could plant, red flowering currant, Pacific crabapple, and red and blue elderberry. Now, this is the part where you're going to need your pencil and pen. I'm going to walk through a couple different strategies for drawing this. The first one is I would like on your piece of paper to draw an oval-like shape. So go ahead and start drawing this oval shape right here. It's not quite oval, it's kind of like circular with a little bit of oval into it. Once you've drawn that, then you're going to draw this large oval and compare the different circles. So think about the distance they are from each other. Think about the shape that you're seeing here. Then you're going to add a line through that first circle and try to, you can use your pencil to help you make it straight. So if you have two pencils, you can draw an edge along it and notice the angle that it's pointing at. Notice the angle that it's pointing at, and do note it goes inside the circle. So that's going to help you later on for placing the eye. So you're going to add this diagonal. Then we're going to place the feet. So we're just paying attention to shape and ratio right now. Think about how you're going to have this placed on your paper. Wow, I see so many of you working so hard on this. I love it. Then you're going to add the other foot. And notice if you need a pencil to help you, they are almost the exact same angle. So that helps when drawing. It's comparing how they are to each other. Then we are going to add in a triangle. So notice this triangle shape right here. Next, you're going to follow, so this line for the beak that you put down, you're going to follow it and go all the way down into your second oval. I do recommend maybe using a pencil to get this straight edge. And that's going to help place the eye. So once you have your beak line and you have that line coming down into the body, that's going to help you figure out where to draw the circle for the eye. Then draw the eye, but try and put those two lines centered. Try to draw that circle in with the two lines. So try and put it at the center of that circle. Looking great. Kari just shared her piece of paper. Then you are going to follow that line down to add a little curve. This is going to be their wing. Oh, look at that. Once you've had all of your layout done, you can start to slightly erase those finer details that you see in here. You can start adding shape to the body of that bird and go ahead and add a little bit more detail. This is freehand, whatever you want to add. I'm going to give you about a minute and then we'll move on to our next bird. And I want to let you know each bird's going to get harder and harder.
What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, you are going to add as much detail as you would like. So this is freehand. So add the details onto those shapes and use it as like a ratio. So trying to figure out how big something is compared to the shapes that you've already drawn. Great question. Oh, great. I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. I also wanted to explain that ratio is the size difference. So think about the head is smaller. So the ratio from the head to the body circle, they are going to show you the different sizes. So ratio is getting that perspective and getting those sizes to look like our bird. All right, can you go ahead and show me your drawing? I'd love to see them. Thank you, Joyce.
This
Thank
is
you.
my sister's.
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna go on to our next bird, but first, I think I might have figured out how. Here we go, I figured it out.
It's a great one, Thomas.
So I'm gonna play this sound one more time and give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. Great, yes, that's it. This is what your end result should look like. A lot of you, actually all of you, this is what it looked like, so great job. At the end, we'll get more time to add more details, so don't worry. We're next gonna be drawing a northern flicker. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever seen a northern flicker. They are very large, very beautiful. These are one of my favorites, especially because when they're in flight, their feathers are so beautiful. If you look at its tail feather here, it's kind of this orangish red color. Let's hear what they sound like. You can find northern flickers in woodlands, forests. You can also find them along any types of tree forests. They also do like wetlands. That's where we were hearing this bird. And they primarily eat insects. They do really like ants and beetles. They are a very big fan of fruit and seeds in the summer. And these are a great bird that you can attract to your yard. If you want to attract those to your yard, you're going to need some native plants like elderberry, red twig dogwood, oak, and some common juniper. All right, let's get started on drawing this bird. You are going to start again with that head circle. This time though, this circle for its head is going to line up exactly with its body as well. So you're going to start off with that head oval, and then the body oval is going to line up right with it. Then you're going to draw your beak line. So if you need to, you can use a pencil or ruler to draw that line. And again, this is to help us find where to put the eye and also make sure that we have a nice line. You can draw it on the same paper. You can draw it on a new piece of paper. You may do whatever you like. You could draw it on the back of your paper. It's up to you. We're doing 5 birds. So that is one thing to keep note of where you're drawing 5 birds. Next, you are going to add that line that goes straight down from the beak line. And you are going to stop in the body oval. And note it stopped right where that black chest half oval is. So notice it stops right there. That's also to help you figure out the shape to add in that color. Once you've had your 2 lines to help you find the eye, you can draw that circle. And again, it really helps if you put those two lines where they meet, put it in the middle of your eye circle. That gets the proportions correct. Next, you're gonna finish that angle of that beak. So what I recommend is you line up your pencil to the second line that goes down from the eye, and you are gonna try and have your pencil go from that line all the way to the line for the beak tip. So you want them to connect, and you're gonna draw that triangle shape. I really appreciate how hard all of you are working. Thank you, that's really nice. Then we're gonna add our feet. Note that the line comes straight off of the body oval. Oh, thank you, Georgia. Sorry, I butchered your name. And then to help you with figuring out how to put this bird on this branch, you are going to take your pencil or your second pencil. You are going to line up those two bottom feet lines that you made, or those leg lines, and you are going to draw it through there. So it's going to kind of make a slight diagonal shape, and that helps set up where you're going to draw your feet on that branch. When you're done, could you hold up your piece of paper? I want to see what you've done. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow, they look so good. Yes. Great. The last but not least is you're going to add in that diagonal line to finish the tail. So it helps to line it up with your twig line or your branch line, and you're going to draw that straight back to the oval, the body oval. When you've done all of those, your paper will look kind of like this. Excellent, excellent. We're going to move on to our next bird. And again, at the end, I will put all these birds up so you can add as much detail as you want. And this is all to help you make sure that you have those proportions correct. All right, our next bird is going to be the wood duck. And if you guessed it, they like to live in wooded swamps, marshes, streams, beaver ponds, small lakes. And those two were both the male and the female. So funny thing about birds is the one I have up on my screen, that's the male. And the prettier of the two, usually, not always, is the male. The male is going to be really, really pretty, try to attract a nice female. And they are pretty cautious of humans because some humans like to hunt the wood duck. And if you want to attract them to your yard, you're gonna need a pond. So They're a little bit harder to attract to our yards, but you could install a pond, or if you already have one. They do need about 2 to 3 different types of aquatic plants. I don't know if you saw, the duck was in the water kind of digging through. They like to eat different parts of plants. They like to eat insects as well. Now this one is going to be on our harder scale to draw. So where do we start? If you remember, we usually start with the head. So try to get that shape. I don't know if you noticed, but each bird has like a slightly different shaped head. So this one has more of a circular head. I'd say this one probably has the second most circular head that I'm going to show you today. And then you are going to add, because it is so big, you're going to add the neck section as an oval, and that is going to touch directly to the head circle. You are going to add in its body oval. So all 3 of these are going to be slightly touching. Once you have the head, the neck, and the body down, you can start with your beak angle. Your beak angle, and notice it goes a little bit farther than our eyeball, and that's because we really want to line up where this eye is, get that proportion and that ratio and that size difference right. So this is kind of like a little cheat sheet of finding the angle, so that way you get the eye in the right spot.
There's been a request to slow down a little bit, Michaela.
Yes. Once you have that triangle shape for finding the eye placement, you can add that circle in, and notice the down line goes through the middle of that circle and the edge touches the beak line. While you're drawing, I'll add some bird sounds. The next step is to add in your legs, or the duck's legs. Then we're going to begin to add that tail triangle. We're going to start off with the bottom layer. So take the body oval and draw a line down and back to form a triangle. And notice this triangle doesn't go straight to the body. It goes slightly above it. And that's because this bird has a lot of wonderful, beautiful feathers that we want to add in. If you're trying to figure out how to add in that triangle, I've added this little line because it can help you for lining it up and getting that nice ratio, that different proportion. Oh yes, I see some holding up. That looks great. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Wow. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute. These are the steps to get the basis of this bird down. If you would like to start adding details, you may. I usually erase the circles of the bodies last. I just want to make sure that I get everything going. Oh yes. Look at that wood duck. All right, I'm going to go on to our next bird. And don't worry, if you want to add more detail to this duck, I will have it up on display at the end. So don't worry. You will have, I would think, maybe about 30 minutes of freehand where you can draw as much detail as you'd like. And again, this is what it should kind of look like on your piece of paper once we remove that bird. The next bird is pretty cute. We call this the purple finch. Give me a thumbs up if you're like, wait, why is it called the purple finch? Yeah, it has red, pinkish red color to it. And this bird, this is the male bird. So remember, the pretty bird usually ends up being the boy. And they really are very popular birds that you can find in your backyard. So if you want to attract them with native plants, you could plant a big leaf maple, Oregon ash, bitter cherry, black hawthorn, or thimbleberry. They really like fruit and they really like seeds. And notice this bird has a different beak than all the other birds that you have seen. Ooh, let's hear what it sounds like. That may be a bird that you've already heard before. They're pretty common in Washington. I've noticed we are getting an influx of finches. Who knows, maybe there's some sort of environmental condition that allows us to see more purple finches than in the past. And again, if you guessed it, we are going to start with the head. So eyeball that head. Think about, what kind of shape are we going to add? And notice that the circle stops right at the line where the beak is. So we're including a little bit of the beak in that circle or that oval. And on this bird, the head oval and the body oval also line up to each other. The next step is to add in that beak line, And I stopped it on this one because the eye line is going to just touch, just barely touch. So the other ones, the eye line with the beak and the downward line, we're in the middle of its eye circle. This one, you're gonna line it all the way up against the edge. And that is to help us also get the location of its wing. I'll go ahead and add in that eye circle. So again, really line it up to that triangle point for finding where to place the eye. Don't forget to add in your feet. And notice in this picture, the bird's feet are at a diagonal. So you can also use a ruler or a pencil to draw that line. And I did put it all the way down to that twig, so that way you can help set the angle of the twig as well. Give you some nice background ambiance. Now, if you notice from our second eye line that goes down, you can also take your pencil or your ruler and you can add in that horizontal line for its wing. This will create a triangle shape as well. So once you have your first line that lines up with the bottom of that eye line, you can take another device to add in that second line to make kind of like a triangle. Oh, look at that. Nice bird. Nice job.
Are we gonna add detail now?
You may add detail now, yes. Forgot to also mention the tail feathers. So this bird will have two sets of triangles to help you figure out where to place the wings and the tail feathers. And from here, you can build out and add detail. Nice, I like that. Good ratios. Oh, Kari, nice job. Oh, beautiful. You have about 1 more minute left for adding your detail to your birds. Think about the shapes. It's always best when you're drawing the outline of birds is to think of them in terms of shape. Drawing on the outside, working your way in helps as well. Oh, nice. Looks like you got your proportions right on that, Daniel. Now, don't worry, we'll have more time to come back to these birds at the end. Oh, yes, look at that. Nice bird. We are going to learn about another bird. So again, this is what it should kind of look like once we've removed that picture. Oh, nice. Nice bird. Thank you for sharing. This is going to be our last bird, and this bird is the hardest to draw. If you were to look at this bird right here, the shapes that I mostly see are circles and ovals. Before we go into how to draw this bird and how to get those ratios and those proportions right, this bird has a really unique call. Some folks find this bird really annoying. And this is an owl, so this is nocturnal. You don't get to actually see the bird making, the owl making the sound. And that is because it's nocturnal, so it's really hard to capture it making that sound at night. But let's check out this cute little northern saw-wheat owl. And on all reports I've read about this owl, a lot of people believe it's a car alarm going off. So they will complain to their neighbors being like, your car alarm was going off last night. And they're like, really? But nope, just this cute little owl. We are gonna start off with making that head circle. Now, this is probably gonna be one of the only birds that you draw today where the head is larger than the body. So really add in that big circle for the head. And while you are doing that, I'm going to add in a car alarm sound. Now, if you were trying to sleep and all you heard was this, would you be able to sleep? I wouldn't be able to. Really fun fact about this owl. This is the smallest North American owl. It loves to eat mice and other small rodents. So if you live in an area with a lot of forest or trees, this owl, if it's there, that means you got a good population of mice. And its mission will be to find those mice at night and to eat them. Yeah, you have a question, Ethan?
We have a barn and there's a barn owl in the barn.
That is so cool. That means you got a lot of mice on your property.
Yeah, it's not exactly this owl, but it's kind of similar to it.
Does it have little ear flaps?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
We might have to talk about this more later to figure out which kind of owl is there. Once you have your head and your body, we are going to start with a line. The reason we start with this line is because figuring out where we're going to put the eyes is going to be the hardest part of this owl. what I want you to do is I want you to draw that line all the way down to this owl's talon. So draw it all the way down to the talon. So it's going to go through 2 circles or 2 ovals. Oh, great. Yes, good job. Then you're going to add in that cross line. Oh, good job. That helps set us up for where we are going to put the outer circle. So owls have a unique evolutionary adaptation where they have 2 circular patterns on their face. And if you think of like a satellite, that's for receiving sound. So they have these 2 amazing circular patterns on their face. Really want to make sure we get that because that is really unique to owls. And if you think about why, it's because they're hunting mice at night. So they have to have really good hearing and really good vision. Those 2 adaptations of having those circular satellite plates is also helps them get sunlight into their eyes. So they're nocturnal, so at night they're hunting. So any type of light with those little solar panels, sorry, those little circles will add in light so they can see better. Great, yes. And then we're going to add smaller circles for the eyes themselves. Now I put them in the middle of that cross line. Put it in the middle of that cross line. Also, if you haven't gotten your proportions or your ratios right, you can start over. You can start all over again. No worries, because the owl is the hardest one because it has so many different features to its face. So if you're looking at your picture and you're like, it just doesn't quite add up, feel free to start over. We got time. I'll add in some ambiance. By the way, that is a male owl calling to a female. And he's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna harass you until you say hi to me.
Michaela, most people think this sounds like an alarm clock or it's very annoying.
Oh no, yeah, an alarm clock. I like that one. Hey, you know, maybe that's a great idea. Maybe your parents should set a recording of this in your room, and when you won't wake up, they can just play it. I see some of you going, no, don't. One time I went camping and this is all I heard for 8 hours and I woke up very grumpy. It kind of eats away at your sanity sometimes. All right, the next thing we are going to add we are going to add in those feet. The reason we do this, now notice it goes into that oval body, and that's so that way you really get that underside to get those feathers, because these talons do create a really beautiful shape in the body of this owl. So I added it to go into that oval. And from here, this is how you're going to kind of start getting the shape of the tail feather. Notice it does miss that other tail feather, but you can add that in at a later time. So once you add this leg right here, you're going to line up your pencil to the leg line, and you are going to draw out diagonally, and this is going to form a triangle. So if you're having a hard time figuring out how to put it, you can also start with the head and draw down to the tail feather, making sure that you're not going into that oval. And this is how we're going to get our rough shape of our owl. Getting everything in the right place first before we add in all our detail. There's a lot of funny comments in the chat. Someone says, don't give my mom any good ideas. This is the rough shape that you should have. Yes, excellent. Nicely done. Great. I'll go back. So you have, this is going to be your 1 minute. Great. I love it. Wow. Looking good. This is going to be your 1 minute where you'd like to add more detail. You can start adding more detail. Oh, look at that. Good job. You can start adding all the detail you'd like. And then the next part is I'm going to give you about 15 minutes where you can draw all of the different birds. So I'll put all the birds up on one slide and you can add as much detail as you would like. So again, if you're having a hard time with this, it's totally fine. This is our hardest bird to draw. I want to let you all know that all the birds I've shown you today are all native birds that live here in Washington. And it was hard only picking 5 because we have such amazing diversity of birds here. Oh, nice. Oh, I got a request in the chat to play this one more time. Now, if you're wondering, how do I add detail and get rid of those original lines? You can erase them or make them really, really, really light colored. So you can erase it and add more detail around it. That's how you get the shapes and the forms to start adding and developing on your picture. And just look at the birds that I'll show you and look at the birds and look for patterns and shapes. And if you start out by just looking at a small section and that shape, and you can add each section as you go, it really does help make the whole thing come together by looking for shapes, not making it to look specific and done once you start, but starting to add in those shapes and starting to add more detail as you go. So really kind of starting out broad and then over time becoming more specific. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put up all of our birds. But first, I wanted to put these 2 up for you. So if you want to add more detail to these 2 birds, this is your chance. Or I can also put all 5 up. So I'm going to put these 2 up now for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then I'll move on to all 5 of them, and there won't be any shapes on the other ones. So again, this is your time to add as much detail as you would like. kind of erasing some of those foundational ovals and circles, finding the patterns and the shapes, adding in the feather details, adding in the claws. Great. You could even start all over again if you wanted to. Good job. Can you hear this bird sound? Great. I'm just going to start playing you some bird sounds while you're drawing. Oh, look at that owl. Nicely done. Ooh. This bird is one of my favorites because of the trill sound at the end. It just sounds so beautiful. I had a question in the chat of what is my favorite type of bird? My favorite bird is an oyster catcher. Let me see if I can play you an oyster catcher sound.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, for the bird drawing contest, can we draw any native bird?
Any native bird you want?
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Kayla,
Yeah,
Isha asked if your favorite bird lives here.
it does. Yes. So oyster catchers like to eat shelled creatures on the beach. So they have this really peculiar long orange beak, and it's kind of like a violent orange. And then they also have violent orange feet. And that little squawking sound that I was playing, it kind of is like a little like squawky, annoying sound. That was the oyster catcher.
And Daniel's favorite bird is the falcon. That's great
Wow.
too.
Ooh, Liam's favorite are great blue herons and bald eagles. And then we also have another one, a cockatiel or a cockatoo.
It's not a cockatoo.
What is it?
It's a cockatiel.
A cockatiel. Beautiful.
I have 2 of them and they're my pets.
Oh, that's lovely. Ooh, the crow. Yeah, the black feathers are pretty beautiful. Oh, I don't know how to say that bird. The catazel.
Quetzal.
Quetzal?
Oh, is the crow.
It's Quetzal.
Correct. Thank you so much. I was getting ready to Google how to say that.
There was a question about the size for the art contest entry and also the paper. And for the paper, it does not matter what kind of paper you use. The size is 8.5 by 11, so they're all the same size. And then our preference is that they come into us electronically. So through the form on the website, and I'll put that link in the chat, you can mail them to our office and we will take care of them that way if that's your preference. But if we have them digitally, it's easy for us to share. And then we do the contest. Internally, we choose our favorites, and then the public gets to decide too. We have the People's Choice Award. So I will put these in the chat, the link in the chat. Well, I'm seeing hummingbirds are favorites. I just saw one yesterday and it was anxiously awaiting the red flowering currant, the blossoms there. So again, size of the drawings are 8.5 by 11. So like a normal sheet of paper, if you would like this. Well, it has notes on it, but just a regular sheet of paper. And absolutely you can post these drawings. Yeah. And you can do any bird you want. Just the ones that Michaela showed are just some great examples of native birds from here. But my goodness, there are so many birds. And we have migrating birds that come through too. So if there's one that you see during the year that you like, you can draw one of those too. Please include the name of the bird so we know what you're drawing. I think that would be fun for all of us. We'll probably all learn a whole bunch of new species of birds through this process. Oh yeah, the ruby-throated hummingbird. I love it when they spin because they look different colors as they move. All right, well, I want to stop this recording so we can see all of your art. And so for those at home watching this later, this is where you can show your parents or your friends what you drew. Thanks so much, Michaela.